This episode is brought to you by DistroKid. DistroKid is the easiest way for musicians to get their music into all the platforms. Amazon, Apple, Tidal, TikTok, YouTube, Spotify, and more. Plus, you've got unlimited uploads, and the artist keeps 100% of what they make. But what I love most about DistroKid is their app. The design of it just makes the whole process so easy. Now you can be sure that you're doing everything you need to do to get your music out there. Go to distrokid.com to check it out or download the app now.
Allow me to live and breathe like a man.
You've heard his words on classic albums like Pacific Ocean Blue and Friends. His 1969 collaboration with Brian Wilson, A World of Peace Must Come, gained almost legendary status as one of pop's most storied lost albums before being resurrected to great acclaim by Light in the Attic in 2008. Now you're cordially invited to take a trip into the mind of poet and songwriter Stephen J. Kalinich. Heyday Again Records presents I Love My Life, a postcard from one of the last standing poets of peace and excitation. Order your copy today. I Love My Life by Stephen J. Kalinich and Friends. You'll see why heavy hitters like Brian Wilson, Dennis Wilson, Paul McCartney, Steve Cropper, P.F. Sloan, and Diana Ross have all worked with him. I Love My Life by Stephen J. Kalinich. Order today at realgonemusic.com. Again, that's realgonemusic.com. Future Prophet Records presents Gargoyle's new single, Alligator Head. This and other essential singles from the New York Underground, all designed to catapult today's great bands into tomorrow, and all available at futureprophetrecords.com. That's PROPHET, futureprophetrecords.com. We begin with Allentown. This is like a real point of total weirdness in my life, but my family didn't really vacation together. My mom, my dad, my sister, and I, that's not how it worked. My mom wanted us to go. She would stay home. Her vacation was just being alone at the house. And then my dad would take my sister and I, because of his incredible dearth of imagination, to Allentown. And we would stay at a Holiday Inn or something. I mean, I can't really say that the topic is close to my heart unless the lyrics were about a clueless dad who had no original ideas about where to take his kids on vacation.
Wait, did he take you there multiple times or just once?
Many times.
That's incredible.
It's insane, right? I mean... Welcome to Discograffiti, the music obsessives podcast that gives freaks like you and me the chance to connect with the brotherhood obsessed with rating the entire discography of every single artist and band that ever mattered. I'm your host, Dave Gebroe, and with 4 new episodes each week, you're going to gain a comprehensive knowledge of an act's history and output in the time it takes to listen to one album. Each new guest swings a hard left into an area you either had no idea you needed to know about or know all about and can't believe you're not alone out there. And in this episode, we'll be turning our spray cans on Billy Joel, Psst, along with our special guest, UNREST'S Mark Robinson. In this episode, I talk with the epitome of DIY punk spirit, who can also write a pop hook like the best of them, the great Mark Robinson. Of Unrest, Grenadine, Air Miami, Flin Flon, Uncomfortable Police, et al. And together we discuss Billy Joel's entire recorded output. If you're a longtime listener, then you know that I've harbored a longtime hatred of Billy Joel. So why the sudden turnaround in taste, you ask? Discograffiti's Mark Robinson tackles Billy Joel, but Only Metaphorically series dissects every last release Billy Joel's ever had a hand in creating. Part 5 covers the last 2 records that Billy made before marrying Christie Brinkley and entering his tabloid uber superstar phase, Glass Houses and the Nylon Curtain. Here are just a few of the many things that Mark discusses with Discograffiti in this podcast. Which of us, Mark or Dave, feels like there isn't a single bad song on Glass Houses? the song Billy Joel considers the worst he's ever written and why he wrote it, an overview of Billy's live album Songs in the Attic in the director's cut only, the recording of which Billy is most proud, the moment that for Billy led directly to his first divorce, the lengthy evolution of Allentown, the one time that Billy Joel tried heroin and the song he wrote about it, and an in-depth deep dive on every song off Glass Houses and the Nylon Curtain. And away we go then! So it's still rock and roll to me. The record was pretty much finished. And then Billy came up with that song. He wrote the lyrics in the car on the way into the studio, as he says in the documentary. And it's kind of the thesis of the whole record. Hot funk, cool punk, even if it's old junk, it's still rock and roll to me. Lyrically, it's a publicist / manager begging the protagonist, who's Billy, to remain hip for the younger crowd. And, Billy's refusal to change, claiming that his music is going to be relevant regardless of his appearance. And it's a great appropriation of new wave. And, to do it like that effortlessly is terrific, that he was able to do it that quickly. And yeah, his first number one, which is unreal. It was number one from July 19th to August 1st, 1980. And what else can you say about this song? Talk to me about your love affair with it.
I love the slapback delay is amazing. The dry drums, and then Libertario, just like his insane fills. Like the drums just sound crazy and crazy great. Like instead of doing like his little fills on the snare, which you would expect, it's like all toms.
Is that all toms?
I mean, I'm sure there's some snare in there, but he's like, do 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 do. It's just really weird, and it's kind of, it's actually, I don't know. Speaking, and we're gonna go back to Queen right now. Crazy Little Thing Called Love, which I think actually was a real single from Queen, where it wasn't just an album track. And it was released, I think, before the record. It kind of fits in with that, which is a very Elvis-inspired song. But anyway,
I feel like those two songs,
same year. I
feel like that Queen song and this Billy Joel song begat the Stray Cats.
Well, except for I think they were already together, probably. But yeah.
Maybe they were a prog band and they heard these songs. Okay, so then, that's when this record sails off a cliff. So, All for Lena, I'm not a fan of this song. It reminds me of the Bon Jovi song Runaway, which I don't like that song. I don't like Bon Jovi. It's also the longest song on this record. And I also hate that the whole first side is perfect. And then comes this song that I just really, really don't like. I feel like the greatness of the record ends here and it never recovers on side 2, even though there's good stuff on it. This is my vote for worst song on the album.
This song is a hit. It's a great song. It has this like crazy, like Rick Wakeman 70s prog rock, like Moog solo. Yeah, it's a good one. The record never falls off. There's one song that's like good, not great.
I know which one you're talking about. Okay, so we flip it, and I Don't Want to Be Alone is kind of a breezy, casual tune that sounds weirdly, and again, I'm expecting the whole thing to be kind of, his punk / new wave record, but this is more like Joe Jackson and Elvis Costello, but not quite as good as what those two guys would do, I think. I felt like he was trying to go for a new wave like pop song in this song, and he landed somewhere close enough to that, but I feel like it should be on an entirely different record. Even the vocal tone sounds like it was flown in from somewhere else entirely, like it was recorded by a completely different producer with competing ideas about how this record should sound. And it just strikes me as a relatively nondescript song with a nondescript melody featuring a nondescript lyric. And so at this point, I'm kind of wondering what's happening to the record, because there's a couple of bed shitters in a row after 4 killers. Yeah, so I'm not a huge fan. I think it's better than All for Lena, but I'm not a big fan of I Don't Want to Be Alone.
Now, when you say things like bed shitter, is this like something you wrote down and you're just bringing it up? You have like your notes, or is this just a word that pops out of your head?
Bed shitter is both, is a word that pops out of my head. So you wrote it down? I did write it down. I wrote that. No,
I'm just curious. I'm just curious.
I wrote down 2 bed shitters in a row, ?
Okay. No, good. Yeah. Okay. Just curious.
You just want a peek inside my mind?
Yeah. That word is not in my vocabulary, but
do you like this song then? Do you love this song?
There's not a bad song on this record.
Okay.
And there might not be like this overarching theme or sound, but If you have 10 good songs, and this is his first album with 10 songs since Street Life Serenade. Before this, he's been like cheating people, really, with like 8 or 9 songs for the last few records. And now he's like 10. Here you go, people. Give the people what they want.
Turnstiles was 8.
Yeah, I think this is a good record. I like it.
Yeah, it's maybe a little bit harsh to group this one with All for Lena as a bed shitter, but it's not one that stays with me. I cannot remember the melody to this song, and this is the kind of song that you want the melody burrowing into a listener's head.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I agree, but I would disagree and say that almost all of these songs, I can just bring them up. And, maybe this has to do with a young me listening to this over and over and over again. And so I just know all these songs. But I just, I'm listening to the next song, in my head, listening to Sleeping with the Television On.
I mean,
that's a completely catchy melody.
That's a dominant song. I mean, to me, that is easily the best song on the second side, and probably for me the only outright great song on side 2. Great.
It's a great song. And then it has this bizarre organ solo, with a weird an organ that he must have pulled out from 1962 or something like that. Yeah, and yet he's putting it in this 80s song.
I think this is an incredible melody. It's a great lyric idea. And also, this was the hit that never was on this record. This should have been a huge hit. According to Billy, a guy named Mike Cody was in the Rogues with him when they were 14 years old. And he would come into the studio with his girlfriend. Billy never got her name, and this song was inspired by her. So it begins with the national anthem. And I just, I love that this song is kind of like what happens to you when you don't take a chance on love. You end up sleeping with the television on. And I love that lyrical idea. To me, that's like a Bacharach David level lyrical idea. It's great. In a review of Glass Houses for the AV Club, David Gebroe, I think is how you pronounce his last name, said that it may be the most underrated Billy Joel song.
Agreed, yeah. I mean, it's a great one.
It may just be.
I think the next one might be the second most underrated.
And so, C'était Toi, You Were the One. In a 2002 interview with Entertainment Weekly, Billy Joel says this is the worst song he's ever written.
He's wrong.
He said, I'm going to quote him, "It's a song written in French, and I don't even speak French. I love the sound of the language, though, so I wrote a song and got this guy to translate my lyrics. I tried to make them fit the song, but it came out absurd. I had a huge hit with Honesty in France, and I went to France and performed. The French just sat there after I performed that song. The worst thing you could do to the French is to massacre their language. After the show, I asked the promoter what happened, and he said, well, they thought that you were singing in Polish. That's when I said, this song really sucks."
He's so, it's interesting how, he gets so down on his music sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's quite as bad as Billy makes it out to be, but it's certainly not great or even good, I think. It's just there.
I wrote in all caps, great.
Okay. Wow. And
this is a great one. I think this is Stranger level. Just the whole the production is weird, and it's just kind of a great song.
That's interesting. Yeah, it's not my go-to. I don't hate it. Not a bed shitter, but it's decent. I think Billy's harsh on it. Close to the Borderline, probably the hardest rocking song off of Glass Houses, featuring a really good guitar solo by David Brown. It's kind of a reaction to the summer of '77 in New York, where the song was originally written. And this is somewhere right in the middle for me. This one fits the vibe and the mood of the record without, for me, going above and beyond what's expected of it. I just think it's a nice rocker, but not amazing to me.
I think this is my least favorite song, but I still think it's good.
It is. Yeah, it's a good song.
Is this the one when you said I know which one you're talking about? Is this the one you thought I was talking about?
I would have thought C'était Toi.
Okay.
And then Through the Long Night, which, do you know the song that heavily inspired that one?
It's got to be a Beatles song, right?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yeah, Yes It Is, which has
Yes It is the name of the song.
Yeah.
I thought you were saying, yes it is, you got it right.
That's why I said it again, because I didn't know if it got through. So, yeah, this is heavily inspired by Yes It Is, which has such a warm blanket of a harmony bed to it. I don't know if you know that particular Beatles song, but the way that that is recorded, it feels like you're being hugged from every side. It's also like kind of lullaby sounding. So to have this as an outro to a punky new wave album is pretty cool. It's confusing and cool in equal measure. And whether by accident or on purpose, the Beatles grab certainly points the way with great foresight to Nylon Curtain.
Yes. And I feel like, yeah, this is obviously Beatlesque. Like you hear it and you can't think of anything else. But it's a great song and it's a cool ending song. And he definitely overdoes it on Nylon Curtain for sure. But I think the song is so good it doesn't matter if it sounds like the Beatles.
This is going to be the first Billy Joel record where perhaps you rate it higher than me. So here's my capsule review. It's been 2 records in a row now where Billy selected a genre exercise to tussle with, then absolutely killed it on side 1 and shit the bed on the flip. And not only did those second side songs not measure up twice in a row, he also abandoned the LP concepts and left cohesion behind for some strange reason. The abandonment of craft and focus on the flips of 52nd Street and Glass Houses is a very real thing to me and unfortunate because there's indisputably solid work going into the initial sequencing before Billy's grip loosens and he loses control. So another mixed bag, but also twice in a row too. The wins definitely outweigh the losses. 6 absolute killers, 1 or 2 solid but unspectacular tracks, and a couple 3 stinkers. I'll give this 3 3/4 stars.
Interesting. Because it seemed like you liked more songs on this record than you did on 52nd Street, and yet you gave that a 4 1/3.
This is not far from that.
Yeah, no, I agree.
4 1/3, yeah.
Yeah. I think this is his, if I had to like take one record with me, one Billy Joel record with me to a desert island, and there was somehow electricity and a record player.
Do you want to be buried with this?
This would be the one, because even at The Stranger, like I couldn't, like that last song, I would have to skip it all the time, and then I'd only have 8 songs.
Do you want to be buried with this record?
I don't know. Let's not go that far. If I have to be buried in like Billy Joel country, yes. So I give it the same score. This is my highest Billy Joel album score, and it's a 4, which equals my Stranger rating.
I can't believe
and it doesn't have that overarching theme. It doesn't have that sound, but it's like every single song is good. It Close to the Borderline is not as good, but there's no songs that I want to skip. There's no like wincing going on.
How is that only a 4? I feel like you're harsh on Billy because he's Billy Joel.
Well, I think I explained my rating outlook before.
Because it's not a like quote unquote serious artist with
No.
Well, it's not Joy Division.
Joy Division could be Weird Al Yankovic or whatever. Maybe Weird Al should do a Joy Division song. All I mean is when I'm rating these records, I am rating them amongst the entire oeuvre of albums.
Dude.
Not just Billy.
Love will tear us apart.
That's actually, I think you should pitch that one. That's a good one. I think Weird Al would be into that.
I'm surprised you only give it a 4. I mean, I figured a 4.5 at the least because you didn't complain about any of the songs.
Yeah, but still, it's not in the court of the Crimson King.
What if this inspires Billy to do it a 3rd time? To try a 3rd time.
Try a 3rd time to
off
do what?
himself.
Oh, come on. What do you mean? Giving a 4?
That's why my ratings are so high. I don't want that to happen.
Because you don't want him to come on. I do have an idea for Billy though, because we haven't gotten there yet, but he essentially retired from making music in 1993. And I think what should happen is that he needs to do a Rick Rubin album.
That's a great idea.
Rick Rubin produced record. Because a lot of his songs, even on the records, the earlier records, where there's like so much overproduction, some of the songs that are the best ones are just like him and a piano. And I think that's what Rick Rubin would do. He would just be like, okay, it's you and a piano. You're coming out to California or wherever he lives, and you're going to come to my studio, and we're going to hang out for like 2 or 3 months and do yoga or whatever. And I think that would be really good. Bill, You should do that.
Which era, though? The big question is, because his production technique is to ensconce each performer that he works with an era or a record that, was considered to be their peak. But which era would it be for Billy? I think, or I would hope, that it would be like, mid-70s or Stranger era, because you could go to disparate places there and have different kinds of Rick Rubin records. I
think that's where Rick would take it.
Yeah. All right, I'm
on first name basis with that guy, by the way.
So, September 23rd, 1982, The Nylon Curtain is released. It's Billy's 8th album, again produced by Phil. It peaked at number 7 with 2 million sales, so now he's really slipping, 2 times platinum. It's actually one of the first albums ever to be digitally recorded, mixed, and mastered.
Digitally recorded?
Yeah.
That's crazy. 1982?
Yeah.
That's really weird because... Yeah. I remember at the time, supposedly, this might have been an error, but the first digitally recorded, mixed, mastered album that I recall being advertised was like a Lenny Kravitz album in like 1996.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's way off.
But Unrest recorded in 1985 digitally. So, but this is his studio album. This is where he's like touching all the knobs.
It's almost literally his Sgt. Pepper. This is him from the doc on Nylon Curtain. I wanted to make a real sonic masterpiece. I wanted to create something where the sound was as important as the notes themselves. So it's certainly got to be his most ambitious work. And he has acknowledged that it's one of his personal favorites. And he's called it the recording I'm most proud of and the material I'm most proud of. He spent more time in the studio crafting the sound than he had on any previous album. And he's called the process of making it exhausting. It is clearly an homage to the music of the Beatles and the then recently deceased John Lennon. There was a theme that was brought to the album of, pessimism about the Reagan years and the American dream that permeates most of the songs on the record. And one thing that I actually kind of like about this, that seems like definitely a luxury that you'd have to be really, really successful to be able to enact, is that most of the songs on the record were written in the same sequence in which they appear.
Weird.
Yeah, it is weird. The production schedule was slightly thrown off near the end of things due to Billy getting into that motorcycle accident that he predicted presciently on You May Be Right on April 15th, 1982, exactly 10 years to the day of the WMMR show that begat the version of Captain Jack that pretty much put him on the map. So it's interesting. Phase 1 of his career was exactly 10 years. The bone in his left thumb was crushed and his other wrist dislocated in the accident when he was hit. He flipped over a car which had run a red light at an intersection on Long Island. So it's good to know that even though he was a maniacal drunk driver, that it was not his fault. While he was in the hospital, doped up on pain pills and contemplating what future he might have as a musician, this I found out on my own. It was not in the doc. Elizabeth came to visit, contract in hand. Billy recalls her asking him to sign everything he had over to her. Billy said, "I may have acted like an idiot a time or two, but I'm not a complete idiot." That really killed it right there and then. Elizabeth slipped her house key off her key ring and gave it back to Billy at the hospital. This led directly to his divorce and, of course, the next phase of his career. And, of course, meeting muse number 2, Christie Brinkley. But let's stay in the moment, shall we? Oh, hi, I'm Dave Gebroe. I threw my career as a licensed hearing instrument specialist in the trash, sold my house, and moved to the East Coast with my wife and 5-year-old son in order to focus on making the ultimate weekly podcast for music obsessives thrive. But weekly wasn't enough for me, so I bumped it up to 4 shows a week. Becoming a subscriber to Discograffiti's Patreon gives you access to hundreds of exclusive episodes. As a 2-show-per-week private, you get the weekly show by and for our Patreon family, the Discograffiti Soldiers of Sound podcast. As a 3-show-a-week lieutenant, you'll get early release, ad-free, extended director's cuts of the main show. They're the shows as they were intended to be heard. Plus, you'll gain access to half the Patreon archive and the upcoming Beach Boys Behind the Mirror companion episodes, which will feature dozens of special guests from within the Beach Boys camp talking about and rating their music. But as a 4-show-per-week major, you'll be drowning in a flood of must-hear binge listening, because I'll be bombarding you with episodes about super cool bands that are too subterranean for free Fridays. It's like going to music college, but with a tuition that makes all kinds of sense. Plus, our entire Patreon archive is yours. Discograffiti's Top 10, our Buried Treasure show, Rock Cousteau, our Slag Off show, Queasy Listening, and the Private Press with Paul Major. And all that for the price of only a cup of coffee a week. Times are tough, you say? Fret not, because there's a $1 tier. Or you could just join as a basic member and buy episodes piecemeal from our Patreon shop. Don't risk feeling badly about yourself by not giving. Check out patreon.com/discograffiti to find the tier that's right for you. Once again, that's patreon.com/discograffiti. This episode is brought to you in part by Bespoke LA. Located in the Fairfax district of Los Angeles, Bespoke LA is the modern podcaster's dream come true. It's got 2 podcast pods available, one with audio only and the other with both audio and video. Just think, you can start your own podcast tomorrow without investing a single penny in equipment. What, you don't have experience editing? Don't even sweat it. For an additional fee, Bespoke LA can edit your podcast. Or not, it's entirely up to you. Rates start at $75 an hour with discounts if you book 4 sessions at once. Go to bespokela.com/podcast. That's BSPOKELA.com/podcast for more information or to book your time today. And be sure to tell them that Dave sent you for a one-time 25% discount. Side 1, Nylon Curtain. And I will say there's, of course, a disparity on the 2 album sides here, as there has been for quite some time for his records, but it almost feels like 2 different records in a sense. We begin with Allentown, which we could go into the sociological underpinnings of, Allentown. And I will say that my dad, this is like a real point of total weirdness in my life, but my family didn't really vacation together. My mom, my dad, my sister, and I, that's not how it worked. My mom wanted us to go. She would stay home. Her vacation was just being alone at the house. And then my dad would take my sister and I, and he would take us, because of his incredible dearth of imagination, to Allentown. And we would stay at a Holiday Inn or something, and we would go to the Lehigh Valley Mall. We'd go to the movies. I remember I was reading F. Scott Fitzgerald at one point as a high schooler, not for school. I was just always an avid reader. I'd hang out at B. Dalton. But anyway, that's how I know Allentown. Most people, they think of the decline and eventual closure of Bethlehem Steel, which was the world's second largest steel manufacturer for most of the 20th century. And thus, the introductory rhythm for the song is designed to be the sound of a rolling mill converting steel ingots into I-beams or other shapes. That was apparently commonly heard throughout South Bethlehem when the plant was in operation from 1857 to 1995.
Did you say ingots?
Ingots.
Ingots. Thank you.
Ingots, yeah. When he started writing the song was called Levittown, after the Long Island town next to Hicksville, where Billy grew up. He originally wrote a chord progression and lyrics for the song, but struggled for a topic for the song to be about. And then Billy remembered reading about the decline of the steel industry in the Lehigh Valley, and that seemed to fit his po-faced thematic structure for Nylon Curtain. And the Lehigh Valley includes the cities of both Bethlehem and Allentown. Billy then changed the title to Bethlehem briefly before switching to Allentown because Bethlehem carried too much of a religious connotation. And he liked the rhyming potential of Allentown better than Bethlehem. So suffice it to say, Billy started writing the song in the late 70s, but it wasn't finished until 82.
That's cool.
I really, really love this song.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, I think this is, I mean, and we were also talking just like sonically great sounding. I never dislike hearing this one.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really say that the topic is close to my heart unless the lyrics were about a clueless dad who had no original ideas about where to take his kids on vacation.
Wait, did he take you there multiple times or just once?
Many times.
That's incredible.
It's insane, right? I mean, that's the lack of imagination my dad had. And, you know, now that I'm 53 and I really see like who he is, that of course checks. But at the time, it just seemed normal. But it's the farthest thing from normal. So then, I mean, everyone knows that song. Then Laura was a song I really didn't know until doing research for this. And this is an interesting song, which this really should be on side 2. I really don't know what it's doing on side 1 because this is as Beatlesque as it comes. And side 2 is the Beatles side. So I don't know what this is doing on side 1. It was, I think, a sequencing error, but it is a really strong song about the dark side of Billy's relationship with his mom. You know, he didn't really come clean about what this song was for quite a while. He stated initially that it's about the guilt you get from someone in your family who knows just how to stick the knife in and wear you down. And Libertario suggested that the title Laura was chosen because it has 2 syllables, just like the word mother. And Chuck Klosterman from the New York Times said that Billy confirmed to him that Laura was about his mother in an interview with him, and that Billy noted in the interview that the line in the song, "How can she hold an umbilical cord for so long?" should have been a giveaway. Billy later stated that, quote, he must have been pretty fed up with some of his own mother's manipulation by the time he wrote the song, as evidenced by the F-bomb in the lyrics. You know that line?
Right.
Here I am feeling like a fucking fool. I think that's the only time he uses the F word in any.
Certainly the first time, yeah. Yeah, probably the only time, yeah. And there's also, he also has a lot of songs, maybe not a lot, but there's a lot of songs with like a person's first name, but they're always like the weirdest first name. Like, I guess Laura was not that weird a name in 1982, but then there's like Roberta. James is obviously, that's a common name, but I feel like there's a couple others.
Also,
too.
Roberta, not a common hooker name, I would think.
I wouldn't know.
I mean, I don't bring that up out of nowhere, but the song's about a hooker. So the music of Laura is, I mean, just packed to the gills with Beatlesque tips of the hat. I mean, it's an unabashed tribute to the Beatles. The lead guitar sounds really similar to George Harrison's. The drumming sounds similar to Ringo. And the string instruments really sound like a George Martin string chart. Billy also suggested that he may not have been able to write Laura if he hadn't first heard how deep John Lennon went with his song Mother. And how that struck me, hearing this song again and again, is that this is the anti-mother, as if John Lennon had wanted his mother to be run over by that car.
Wow.
I mean, this song is stuffed with Beatles Easter eggs.
Yeah, this is the record where he's really laying it on.
Yeah.
With some pastiche, as you call it.
Yeah.
I have been listening to some of his live recordings. As I said, I've performed in the same venue as him a few times. The Great American Music Hall, 1975, I think it is. And he's going through, and it's almost like he's like a stand-up comedian during his shows. And he's like playing a little Joe Cocker song, and it sounds a lot like Joe Cocker, and he's trying to make his voice sound like Joe Cocker. Then he does a little Benny and the Jets, and it's almost like he's like a Rich Little. So I feel like this pastiche did not come from nowhere. Although he's not putting any humor in these songs, they are obviously inspired by the Beatles.
Yeah, this is like Weird Al if it was the opposite of a joke. Right. There's nothing very funny in this song. It is a great song, and it belongs on the first side in the way that the best songs are on the first side. That's about how it fits in.
But it is a weird one. Like after Allentown, you're like, what's going on? Like it does fit strangely.
Yeah, it does. It does. And then Pressure. The song was recorded with 8 different overdubbed synthesizer tracks, as well as that segment that I love in the doc with 6 balalaika players. And this is probably my favorite song on the album, and something of a masterpiece in itself in so many ways. I always loved this song when I heard it when it was a hit, and it still sounds and feels really good. I love Pressure.
Yeah, it sounds like a little bit like The Police, like you heard The Police. It's very herky-jerky. It has this weird Billy Joel thing. I feel like it's the main part is kind of like annoying, but the song is very good.
Yeah.
And also he's kind of like I don't know why, but I wrote down it sounds like Fugazi.
Oh, wow.
So maybe Fugazi
little.
was inspired by this song and they were like, we have to start a band. I also wrote down like Yes. It sounds like Yes as well.
Wow. Yeah, there is a little bit of that riff, it's obviously very classical based, which is very Rick Wakeman. Mm-hmm. And there is even an element of the Patrick Moraz Relayer era Yes that comes into it. You know, as catchy as it sure is intricate. And it sure is, outside the realm of what you would expect from a normal hit.
Relayer era, Yes. Sorry.
It's right. It is
tongue twister.
It's
a tongue twister.
It is. I love that record. To me, that's the dark horse of their catalog. So yeah, I mean, Pressure is pretty much a perfect song. Goodnight Saigon, it's not a song that I necessarily need to hear again and again. I think just because it's so long and I sometimes skip it. Not that I listen to this album that much. But this was written by Billy at the request of his veteran peers who fought during the war. He wanted to avoid creating a political song that took sides and instead decided to describe things entirely from the soldier's point of view. And I think he caught flack for not bashing listeners over the head with a political viewpoint. Like the idea of Billy Joel being this vanilla dude, the fact that there wasn't a political stance embedded in the song wound up biting him in the ass. But I think he chose the right way to go about it.
I think, I totally agree with you. I think I probably like it better than you do. Like, I don't think it lives up to its potential per se, but I think it's a solid track. I don't skip it. I think it's there's a little alliteration. He's like night, night, night. There's like little words in there that he kind of repeats. And so that's like the sequel to Heart Attack, of course, but more in the environment of a ballad.
Did you ever do a Flin Flon Goodnight Saigon song?
Not yet.
That is literally the most obscure reference I've ever made. Yeah, this look, it's definitely a solid song. You got all the sound effect stuff, the crickets chirping, morphing into the tinkling of wind chimes at night, helicopters,
right, synthesizer helicopters.
Yeah.
It's not like a sound effect. It's like a moog
right.
Trying to say. It's like the soundtrack to Apocalypse Now, like where they used synthesizers to make the sound effects.
And then I didn't know, but the opening is reversed at the end of the song as the piano figure returns. But yeah, to me, this is kind of like the Hey Jude of the 80s.
Wow. The Hey Jude of the 80s. That's a badge of honor.
Well, I mean, honestly, to me, Hey Jude is the most overrated Beatles song.
It's good, though.
It's okay, I guess.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, Hey Jude is kind of like the band Queen. Let's face it.
We gotta stay away from that terrain. That's dangerous terrain for you and I to visit. Goodnight Saigon, great song, lengthy fade out. That's all I'll say. So side two is sort of a rock opera in itself where he had decided to do this like lavish tribute to the Beatles. And I don't think he fully pulls it off because it's such pastiche. There's definitely good stuff on here. There's just a lack of great stuff, I think.
I think that's probably true, but I don't skip anything on this record.
Yeah, neither do I.
And it does that sometimes you're just like, okay, with the Beatles thing, Yeah. But I think they're all solid songs. Like this was I didn't really know this record outside of like Allentown and maybe the Pressure song.
Me too. And I was psyched, and Goodnight Saigon, and I was psyched to get to this because I knew that this existed. I just never really explored it. Mm-hmm. So the first 3 songs on the second side all have a relationship theme. The first one is the reunion. The second one is the decline as the lovers drift apart. And the third one is the inevitable separation. So the reunion song, She's Right on Time, is about an old lover coming back to the singer for Christmas. And it is sort of a Christmas song, which is pretty cool. I mean, there is that sort of sleigh bell feel to it. Since he wrote the song around Christmas time, the preparation of a Christmas tree was used as an analogy throughout the tune. In one of the many interviews where he has said different favorite songs that he's had over his career, This song at one time was Billy's second favorite song from his whole discography. In 2017, on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, I didn't fact check this, but somehow that seems impossible. Because even though this is a solid song with a charming melody, it's immediately apparent that it's a step down from side one, as is per usual in Billy land. So I'll say this is a good, solid song. It's not great.
Yeah, I wrote, okay.
Right. And then A Room of Our Own is the decline part of the theme. It's about a couple who needs time away from each other. And Beatles check in. This one's a She's a Woman pastiche mainly, but it's got elements of others, including more of an early Beatles vibe than most of the latter era Beatles supplication on display on side 2. Again, okay, it's good. Not great, but it's good.
Yeah. I thought this kind of sounded like a little, because you mentioned Joe Jackson before, and this kind of reminded me of Joe Jackson and Squeeze a little bit.
Yeah, it's got that. Yeah,
and I gave it the same thing. I wrote down the same thing you did. It's good.
Surprises is the weakest song on the album. It's not terrible, just not as mind-blowing as Billy had intended it to be, I think. Billy described it as, he described it as a grand metaphysical statement, literally in those words. But to my ears, it's about as deep as Uptown Girl. It's apparently about how one shouldn't be surprised by their inability to control things, although Billy says, or I should say William, because this is a grand metaphysical statement, it's open to several different interpretations. You dig this one, or?
I do.
You do?
I wrote down, great one in all caps.
Wow.
But I think it's a good melody. It worked for me.
Yeah, this to me is, I don't hate it, but it's the weakest one, I think. And then Scandinavian Skies, which interestingly, although not released as a single, it reached number 38, which if you're going to have this is the weirdest song on the record.
How does it get to 38 without being a single?
I do not know. I don't have the story behind how that happened, but the backstory of this one is pretty interesting. Do you know the story behind it?
I don't think so.
So Phil said that, quote, it's a basic story of what happened to Billy and the band, their first travels. It's not too dissimilar to what happened to the Beatles or other people experiencing hallucinations that tie you down to madness. At the time of the song's initial release, Billy merely said that it's a drug and decadence song that represents, quote, the nightmare of his generation's drug experiences. But eventually Billy came clean and revealed that this song was inspired by his apparently one and only one experience with using heroin. So Billy talked about his experience trying heroin on the Howard Stern show in 2014. He said, quote, it got me so high, I didn't know how to deal with it. I said, oh my God, I can see how people can get addicted to this because I was way out and you just go to another place. You start drooling and you get sick. I threw up. It scared me. And honestly, though, there's, to me, nothing overtly heroin-y about the lyrics here. Those undertones are buried so deeply that to me they've totally disappeared from view. And it refers back to an incident that occurred to Billy and the guys in Amsterdam that caused the musicians to flee the Netherlands to Sweden. But the lyrics aren't explicit about what the surprise or the sins of Amsterdam were, although it's possible they may relate to Surprises, the song from directly previous. And obviously this is Strawberry Fields Forever, I Am the Walrus, that kind of, florid psychedelia.
Right. I think this is the one where it's just like, enough already. It's like, it just sounds like another band. And of course, ELO obviously is famously inspired by the Beatles, but it sounds a lot like ELO too. Yeah. But again, I don't skip it.
Yeah, I don't skip it. I don't think it's bad. But, what really shines a light down on the Beatles take is during the recording, Phil Ramone noted to Billy that his vocals sounded a lot like John Lennon and told him, you're really singing it like John Lennon too much, which led Billy to try to sing it differently, but that just didn't work. And so Billy reverted to the Lennon sound-alike vocal.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So he's really aping stuff.
Right. It's a little, yeah.
And it really does, it feels faux profound to me. It's like a synthetic Beatles experience with all of the signifiers of having a Beatlesque experience without the actual feelings involved with actually having one, of which there's many. I mean, when you listen to the Beatles, no matter how many times I've heard a song, I'm going down that river with the guys, and I'm not really feeling anything hearing this. It's a good song.
Yeah, it doesn't. I can't even remember it right now. But
exactly, neither can I.
I do remember liking it.
But the song I do remember, which I really do like, is "Where's the Orchestra?"
Yeah.
So this is about a man who goes to see a live play expecting a musical, only to realize that it's a regular stage show. And according to Billy, this is like his metaphor for life, which is horrifying. Specifically, the realization that it's not as grand and over the top as it's sometimes made out to be. And he tried to make the song feel reminiscent of musical plays. And in the studio recording, Billy's vocals play from the left speaker channel, whereas the orchestral backing is in the right speaker channel, to emulate a man sitting in a theater seat and watching a play. And the song closes with a reprise of the melody of Allentown, and it brings us full circle, as only the best rock operas do. And of course, this is the last song Billy wrote for the record. Billy says of the song, quote, "It was a song of disillusionment. It's a summation of life for me. Life is not a musical. It's a Greek tragedy." And I do love this song. It is wildly pessimistic, but for once on side 2, he's trying to say something. So I dig it. I do dig it.
Yeah, I think it's one of the best ones on the record.
Yeah, me too. So the second side of Nylon Curtains got far more in common with An Innocent Man than it first appears. It's pure pastiche and equally artless in many ways. Most of the real treasure here, as usual, is on side 1. As a grand artistic statement, it loses steam halfway through and turns into something approaching Todd Rundgren's Faithful crossed with the Ruddles. Billy's qualitative yardstick apparently begins to quit functioning properly by this point, since this is the LP of which he's most proud. When it works best, it's a Billy Joel showcase, and when it skates by on Sonics, it's a Phil Ramone audition reel. There's terrific work housed on this thing, but it's inconsistent, and its house is built on sacred Indian burial grounds. That is, nothing one hears here cannot be found done far, far better elsewhere. Overrated then, but also the end of an era of Billy's career during which true artistry was consistently on display and remained a top priority. That is to say, this is his last really good album. I'll give it 4 stars.
I think you're right. It's the last good album. And as I said, I wasn't really familiar with it until we discussed doing this podcast. I think it could be better with like a different sequence. And I'm giving it 3.5 stars.
Nice. All right, that about does it. Stay tuned, because next week brings upon us the Christie Brinkley Innocent Man era, and I know that's what you've all been waiting for, just admit it. It's episode 6 of our Billy Joel series, featuring Mark Robinson from Unrest. Okay, here's the week up ahead. This Sunday, our weekly show within a show, the Discograffiti Soldiers of Sound podcast, drops for our Patreon's private tier. These are real people with talent and a burning fire deep inside, just like you and I. Then come Monday, the major tier gets a very special treat. Monday's bonus episode is another Chuck chat from the Chuck Granada Pet Sounds interview series, and this one with Beach Boy Bruce Johnston. By now, Bruce is retired from being interviewed, so this epic, unheard 2001 chat for Chuck Granada's Pet Sounds book is absolutely priceless, especially seeing as his fanboy love for Chuck's Frank Sinatra book wound up contributing to a level of unvarnished honesty that's super rare for the Beach Boys universe. Bruce talks about his opinion of Smiley Smile, what it's like to be scolded in a session and to have it actually make the final mix, Bruce's efforts to promote Pet Sounds in the UK at the time, Bruce's advice to Chuck on how best to approach the various Beach Boys in order to get the most out of his interviews with them, and the roles that the group members played both in the vocal blend and in their importance to Brian. There will be a very short sneak peek running publicly for free on Monday morning, but the entirety of the show will only be accessible on the major tier of our Patreon. Don't miss it, or you'll only be getting part of the story. And then on Wednesday, the Lieutenant tier gets their early release, ad-free, super extended director's cut of the Innocent Man episode of our Billy Joel deep dive with Unrest's Mark Robinson. It's the episode as it was truly intended to be heard, with all the essentials left intact. And then come Friday, everyone else gets to join in on the action. A heartfelt Discograffiti thanks goes out to my beautiful wife and son, Jen and Mason, Mark Robinson, Billy Joel, Rudy Fishman, Becky Boyd, Bespoke LA, my mom, my dad, my incredibly loyal fans, and especially the entire Patreon community, the Soldiers of Sound. I love every last one of you, and this show would not exist without you, my friends. Speaking of friends, it's high time for some new ones. They're in our Facebook group, Discograffiti Soldiers of Sound. That's the best way to find out what's coming up on the show, but there's a hell of a lot more. You get recaps of the day in music history, the ability to pitch questions to guests, polls that put you in the driver's seat on guest and band decisions, access to a thriving creative hub if you're looking for a collaborator, and much, much more. So make sure you don't miss out. You can find the link to the Discograffiti Soldiers of Sound Facebook page right there in the show notes. And if you don't mess with the Zuck, no sweat. Just email me at info@discograffiti.com and I'll keep you in the loop. So now that it's done and you want more, another way to dive even deeper into that liminal zone right smack dab in between Mark Robinson and Billy Joel is to leap head first into Dean Wareham Rates Galaxy 500. That's episodes 205 to 207. Sonic Boom rates Spacemen 3, that's 183 to 186. Bill Medley rates The Righteous Brothers, that's 181 and 182. Jenny Toomey and Kristen Thompson rate Tsunami, that's episode 180. Michael Imperioli rates The Smiths, that's 164 and 165. The Pixies, that's episode 18. Nirvana's episode 30. PJ Harvey's episode 12. Bob Mayer rates The Replacements as 28 and 29. And of course, the legendary Mark Robinson series is our 16-hour interview with the man about his entire discography, and that's episodes 128 to 136. And of course, be sure to mark your calendars, because next Friday, December 19th, we're coming at you with the Innocent Man episode of our Mark Robinson Tackles Billy Joel, but not literally deep dive. Trust me, you're not going to want to miss it. And so, from now till then, don't let our youth go to waste, lads and ladies. It's Discograffiti!